Gather round, dads, it's time for a tale. Hand me a book and a warm pint of ale. Let's discuss writing and the literary gods with Dan Roberts on the Dadlit Pod.
Welcome to the Dadlit Pod, where I bet you've known it deep down all your life. Maybe not exactly what or why, maybe just a feeling, just like you're out here on the lonely road, watching all the wrongdoers go by, and you get the sense that things are getting blurry at the edges, and no amount of blinking's gonna make it sharper, and you're falling in place, reality and fantasy merging into a timeless dream. But now you have a name for it. It's The Great State of West Florida by Kent Wascom. That's my favorite part.
Oh man.
Uh, I have finally gotten Kent Wascom on the Dadlit Pod. So just a little about Kent Wascom before we get started. Kent was born in New Orleans and raised in Pensacola, Florida. His first novel, The Blood of Heaven, was named a Best Book of the Year by the Washington Post and NPR. He, there are so many. There's so many prizes. Congratulations. He lives in Norfolk, Virginia, where he directs the MFA in Creative Writing program at Old Dominion University, where he is instructed not one, but two dad literati authors, including Richard Leese of Dry the Rain, which I can never remember because Richard it comes from a publisher of another book called Where When It Rains by John Duffy, M.R. Liska, who has his book Alice or the Wild Girl. Both have been on the Dadlit Pod this year.
Right on.
Yes, and
Wait. Liska went to ODU?
according to him,
What? Oh my God. I've only been here since.
oh, maybe you didn't teach him, but he
But
told me he
if
went to
one of,
ODU.
I had no idea if one of my, if we did, I want him here immediately. Like we'll be here for Lit Fest next year. Holy cow, that's so cool. Sorry, I'm thinking administrative for a minute. Administrator. No, it's wonderful to be on, man. I love the show. And everything about it and all the stuff that you've done.
Yeah, well, let's talk about what you've done because I'm obsessed with the Kent Wascom range. Dad of one,
Yep.
a daughter like mine. You are an MFA instructor at Old Dominion. You are now a Virginia author, a Virginia
Yeah.
transplant like
Yeah.
myself. So you have all that baggage going for you. You're not really a carpetbagger. What would you be
Yeah,
considered?
what would I be? But
You're not
now,
a carpetbagger.
no, I wish I could come up with a worthwhile turn of phrase for like coming from the
The
essentially the
deep
bottom of
South.
the country up here.
Yes.
This is, yeah, when we moved up here, it was a real, well, A, just the good fortune of getting the job, but um, of the things that were available, this felt, for a variety of reasons, the best. Both because I dig the area, but because the area is like equidistant between where my wife's family lived in
Mhm.
Massachusetts and where my folks were in Louisiana. Um,
Yep.
so it's kind of a 10 hours up there and like 15 or so to get back to Louisiana. But it's such a cool mix because it's like for me, it's alien looking here other than some vegetation. Like there's a magnolia tree outside of my office, and and the coastal thing felt like home and feels really
Yep.
familiar. But the architecture and the all the British names on, on all the streets and stuff tripped me out. Like the names of streets and stuff from, in Pensacola, it's Spanish colonial names, and in
Yep.
Louisiana, it's Spanish and French, etc. And yeah, so it trips me out a lot. But for my wife, it feels, and to me also, like there's a lot of East Coast like vibes
Oh yeah.
happening here. And Norfolk, so many people have moved, and many people are from somewhere else. Um, but it's been a really great fit.
Well, that's great. Believe it or not, living in DC for me and my wife is actually both coming from New England.
Mm,
Um, we would actually much rather be where you are.
yeah.
We like Williamsburg, we like Gloucester County,
Yeah.
we like Newport News, Virginia Beach. It's just like a better, like it's just more fun down there.
I think so.
You
I
know what
wanted
I
to come
mean?
to DC for things. I almost came in my oh good Lord, I'm gonna forget the name of the bookstore. Is it Lost City? Anyhow, then I'm gonna forget the neighborhood. This is terrible. But yeah, but I love up there, but it's not actually a weird thing of like at least the city part of DC feels real southern in a variety
Yes.
of ways.
Yeah.
It's like a southern fortress. Uh, but
Hmm.
yeah, this is just a terrific area. Like it's still like DIY in a lot of ways. Like there's a
Oh yeah.
houses are expensive, but like doing stuff, and there's bookstores that have been there for 70 years, and movie theaters that have been continuously operating for just about that time, and a culture like a rich situation of the real Norfolk people.
Yep.
I'm trying to as best as I can do.
Yeah, man, there's so much great stuff down there. We go down there every summer.
Yeah.
Um, and I love it. I love it. Sandbridge Island is one of the
Oh,
most
okay.
beautiful places. And of course, I go down there for work because the James River Reserve Fleet is right there on the James River. So, I spend a lot of time down there and I just really like it. I think it's so much fun. Um, but yeah, and you are like me, a Virginia transplant who doesn't write about Virginia.
Not not yet. I mean, I don't know. I especially like coming out of I mean, like so much of the whole West Florida thing was me figuring out what I, not necessarily to write about like authentically, but figuring out what my spot was as a writer, like what's my
Oh yeah.
territory. And, because we had moved around, not, compared to most people so much, but like back and forth on I-10, so much as a little kid, that I, kind of was hung up on Louisiana, but didn't really, after the age of 5, didn't live there until I was 20 years old.
Yeah.
Um, so I have a lot of, and there's a few places that are as insistent as New Orleans is in terms of like being written about, and if you move
Yes.
there, are you authentically living there and from there? Like I had a pal who's a writer from Florida who was living in New Orleans, and no, I'm sorry, it wasn't him. It was someone from Baton Rouge
Yeah.
who then lived in New Orleans and said to me and another writer of like, I worry writing about New Orleans of whether I can get it right. And if someone's going to criticize it, it's like, dude, it's 45 minutes away. You're going to be fine. Um, but it is,
Uh,
it is a hang up. And like, I feel that to an extent. It's a weird thing with Norfolk, especially because so many of my students are from here. Like it's not a
mhm.
traditional MFA program in that sense. Like we bring in, there's people from all over the world who are in the program, but one of the great things about it is that like we're working with local students too,
Yeah.
and like folks who are from the area, and so I get to see their visions and versions of it. But there's this weird you say it because the other day or for a while I've been kind of sniffing around Edgar Allan Poe's time in Norfolk and
Hmm.
his family's like connections to it. And I'm starting to feel something something happening because there's the last place he visited before he died.
Yep.
Last public reading. His sister was born here. His mother was abandoned here, pregnant with him. There's a lot. So I feel like there's something there, and it's kind of a spooky place. Like it's gray a lot of the times.
Yep.
It's just overcast and it feels a little haunted, but but yeah, so I might saddle into like Virginia writer territory, but we'll see. It is neat to like be in a place that's not as it's like written about and explored and thought about for a long, long time, but that's, I could drive a little bit and go to Gloucester and like you got one of America's best writers writing about the region, right? With
Yeah.
S.A. Cosby. And there's just tons of other really cool people. So it's like I think the only way I would do Virginia is like hundreds of years ago. Like I don't think I could get modern straight though.
Well, I think well, let me make clear to the dad literati,
Yeah.
which is that you write about sort of the concept of Florida north of, well north of Orlando,
Yeah.
and then west to New Orleans.
Pretty much.
So effectively, what many would call the Redneck Riviera.
Exactly.
Yes, yeah, the Redneck Riviera. Of course, I mean, I'm a huge parrot head and have long been a huge parrot head. So to me, I see it all as the Gulf
Yep.
until you get to Tampa, at which
Yeah.
point the Gulf becomes ethnic. Would you
Yeah.
say that's right?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, like
Yeah,
like I'm drawn between the historical line of like the Apalachicola River or so,
yeah,
and then yeah, for like if I was thinking about where the the real commonality starts to peter out, yeah, I'd say, but then it's a weird shift. Is like Tampa, especially old Tampa, like has so much more in common with like New Orleans, right?
yeah, yeah. Because it's
And
Spanish. Because it's
exactly. Like
Spanish,
I
and
feel
it
so
was
comfortable there.
yeah,
Like Tampa and Miami are like, okay, I'm relaxed.
yeah,
This is nice. I like I understand what's happening, even though often I like literally don't, but like this feels like home. But yeah, that's the stretch. And for the a period of time in from like 1809 to 1810 that stretch of land from between say Baton Rouge and Tallahassee was a country, was an independent country
yeah.
called the Republic of West Florida. And learning about that and understanding it, and then like kind of realizing like, oh, especially for someone who didn't have a strong sense of home, it was like, oh, okay, I do. Like I'm not
Yeah,
transplanted.
it's a region. It's a
Yeah, I've been
region.
living in
Yeah.
the same state my whole life. I just they drew lines around where the state was. Um, so yeah, I obviously I love it and miss it and try to get back as much as I can. But that's the neat thing about writing, right? Like I get to do
Yeah,
it whenever.
I mean, I do that with my home state, which is Maine,
Yeah,
which I find wonderful and depressing at the same time. I'm very critical of it
yeah.
because the people there tend to have a superiority complex that makes them inferior. They're the most insufferably moral Yankees of all the Yankees, right?
I haven't
You know what I
encountered too
mean?
many Maine folks. Like as
Yes.
far up as I've gone to like Algonquin, and I don't think
Yes.
that's representative of like
No, no, no,
real Maine,
no,
actual
no.
Maine.
Well,
Uh,
it's representative of a certain community of real Mainers.
yeah,
But the this is what I'll say, and it was always explained to me thusly, which is Maine and New England generally are the only place where you'll show up at a person's front door and they won't invite you in for tea. Literally the only
yeah,
culture that will reject you at the front door and wonder why you're there. Um, and that's if you're related to them.
right.
Yeah. And that's pretty consistent
Huh.
along my family. And so it's funny to read about you writing about West Florida and you trying to capture like a cultural, historical, ethnographic, um, geographic, just a dynamism
Mm,
that contributes to something because whenever I sit down to write, or whenever I think about place and think about writing about a place, that's always how I think about it. I always
Yeah.
think about the sort of, not just what the building looks like, but what the building says about the person who built it, the place it was built, and the person who lives there, and whether that person sort of falls into the place or is resistant to, or, sort of taints or changes or feels out of place in. It would be like putting a bunch of Spanish tile in a Norfolk brick
Yeah, like
row
a
house.
Georgian house. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You're just like, or painting the walls orange. It's like, yeah, what what do you got those avocados out for? That
Which
this
is
is
funnily
an
enough, it's like what exactly what I if I was able, like I'm in a little bitty apartment. We're in a like I don't know, like by the this neighborhood called Ghent or West Ghent, I guess, and by the
yeah.
shipyard, in a little like 1900s brick building. But if there's like two stucco Spanish colonial houses in the neighborhood, and my wife just sees me kind of like drawn over, like, okay, this is where this is good.
Yeah, these are my people.
I need this. Like, get rid of these bricks. I can't take it. Um, but yeah, no, I'm in there splashing the colors. But it's true.
Yes, which we should talk about because you're from New Orleans.
Hmm.
Which, by the way, I have an idea about writing a book about New Orleans called
Yeah.
Wrecking Crew.
All right.
But it's a Mardi crew spelled in the Mardi Gras
Oh yeah,
crew
yeah, yeah.
way, about a New Englander who falls in love with New Orleans, moves there in an expensive wooden mansion, realizes how impossible it is to keep it from rotting underneath him,
Mhm.
and then accidentally ends up the head of a New Orleans Mardi Gras crew.
Oh, do it, do it, do it. It's so much. And like just like your for the phrasing of it, weirdly enough, like I don't know if you've seen this book. I'm gonna blank on the author's name, but it's called The Impossible City. It's just
Oh yeah, yeah.
talks
No,
about
I have it. I
the city.
have
Oh,
it.
you do? That's great.
Yes.
Um, yeah, no, man. My dad, he was in Babylon. That was the Mardi Gras crew he was in. He was
Oh,
the
was he really?
Yeah, he was one of the he might have been the only Gentile prior to the Jewish Mardi Gras crew. He's was a hospital administrator in addition to being a politician, and that was one of a lot of his friends who were physicians were in. And he didn't like a lot of the other crews for a variety of reasons. So yeah, that was his.
So he decided to join a Jewish Mardi Gras
Yeah.
crew.
Yep. That was the bunch. Uh,
That's amazing. Now I'm gonna have to. The New England guy's gonna have to be Jewish, and he's gonna have to join like an uber Catholic Mardi Gras
yeah,
crew,
exactly.
just to make it that much more, that much more frustrating for him. Yeah. So for those who don't know, Mardi Gras crews are the people who put on the floats and the parade. Some of them put on the whole parade.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sponsor the parade but mostly like for the cruise, like they're to whatever with those super cruise, they're the
Yes.
floats are designed and built by the Blaine Kern Studios, if I recall correctly, generally.
Yes.
And but anyway, you're it's like multi-day, multi-week party that
Yes.
culminates in you riding for
Yes.
hours with no bathroom. No, nothing. Pitching.
Well, usually they build it onto the float.
Yeah.
They build like a tiny one, and you have to get on, and you can't get off.
Mm.
And you have to wear a mask and like a heavy costume. And
Yep.
fortunately, it's February in New Orleans instead of any other month of the year where it's 10,000 degrees.
Yeah.
But
It's
yes.
it's about as cool as it'll get. But you don't have like it's weird. Like yeah, you either get like rainy Mardi Gras, cold Mardi Gras. But there's lots of Christmases in shorts and stuff. But I can't remember a
Oh,
Mardi
man.
Gras where I was in shorts. Like maybe one, yeah, like 2002 or so. But which also that's the thing, it stretches through West Florida.
Yep.
weirdly enough, Mobile
I
for
mean,
for the
Mobile.
listeners, Mobile, Alabama, one of their claims to fame. They had the first one. They hosted the first Mardi Gras in at least this that the United what would become the United States. And Pensacola has its own, which as a
Hmm.
teenager I would always like sass and be like, oh, this isn't the real deal, and like blah blah blah. Now like
The
very
low rent loser Pensacola Mardi Gras.
now I would be like I would love to go. I'd love to do it, but yeah, gosh, Mardi Gras stuff. Oh my God. Oh wait, before I forget, I wanted to
Yes.
give some credit where credit is due. A to you for picking that passage that you read and for re-performing it beautifully.
Oh,
Um,
did it capture the spirit?
it sounded great, and
Yes.
yeah, and no one's ever pulled that one, which is funny.
Really?
Yeah, and but the additional credit I need to give is that one core phrase in there, reality and fantasy merge into a timeless dream, that is taken from the opening narration of the theatrical version of Buck Rogers in the 25th Century. 1970s television show. And I would encourage anyone to watch that credit sequence. It is magnificent. Not
Nice.
the one for the series, which is fine. But it's just super beautiful 70s lycra, lycra light, and dreamy music. But and like so that might for me in terms of explaining the book, like the book is also like stitched together of a lot of different influences and riffs and just like me pulling things.
Yeah,
um
I mean, well, let me let me try and encapsulate it.
sure.
So the great state of West Florida is about a young man growing up under difficult, I dare say, um, uh, Mark Twainian circumstances
Yeah.
as sort of uh, let me say, a timid Tom Sawyer who is surrounded by chaos and then learns that chaos is his birthright.
Oh wow, dang.
That's how I would describe it.
I think that's beautiful and beautifully put.
Yes, yes. It's as it has a community college president who's evil,
Mm-hmm.
and which, by the way, is true of all community college presidents, if you didn't know. He has a hot meth-addled daughter, and there's he is the pretender on the throne of West Florida,
That's right.
and the true governor of West Florida is a one-armed, gun-toting woman with a one of those dogs from MIT that was
That's
in
right.
that was in that was in Black Rabbit, or what's it called?
Was it
Black Mirror.
Black Mirror?
Black
Yeah,
Mirror. One of those killer dogs from Black Mirror. But the dog's a good guy in this one.
in this right now.
Yes. And and this all makes sense when you read it. I'm going to be honest with you. It makes perfect sense. And what I got from it was a an almost I'd say it's Twain and it's also the Wizard of Oz,
Oh
right?
yeah.
It's sort of the Wizard of Oz written after the 2008 financial crisis. Uh,
I'm the this is jacket copy, man.
that's what it feels like. It's like you the all the things that you would dream of Florida versus the reality of Florida, and then this sort of cultural aspiration to supreme independence.
Yeah.
And I really like it. I love it. Because I like books that capture a sense of place. I'm really obsessed with books that capture a sense of place. And Mick Teague in San Francisco, but also uh Liska's book,
Yeah.
Alice, and there's so much great stuff about San Francisco in that, and I really love that. And books that have just sort of this real a grit to them and real sense of place. And so I really enjoyed it, and just been so excited to chat with you about it.
Thank
So you've now written 4 books
you.
about the great state of West Florida. What are you trying to capture other than visions of the past, the future, and the present in there? What's what are you trying to get at?
I think like in a weird way, or not to, I'm not going to chop off my answer, but like the that sense of place for a place that doesn't isn't hasn't historically been allowed to be itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
That's like been consistently battled over, redefined, and whether that's like culturally redefined, like thinking about like how now the like Florida has punchline kind of thing.
yeah,
And then that portion of Florida as the biggest zinger in the punchline, right?
yeah.
People aren't dogging South Florida, at least not in the same way. Um,
Well, yeah, that's where they go for their cocaine.
right.
Yeah.
And but
Cocaine is a high class drug.
exactly. Yeah,
Yes.
my cats aren't. They're not quite there yet. But
Yeah.
but no, to for that, but also like I, it's super. I mean, this is easily the most personal book I've ever written. It,
It feels like a very
like
personal
it's
book.
yeah, like drawn from a lot of
Yeah.
the some of the more fantastical and less fantastical things are relatively real, but overall, like the broader scope of the I even hasten to say like project, because Great State of West Florida is sort of an offshoot of the other books.
Yeah, what are
It's
the
sort of
what just so if
yeah,
in case anyone wants to pick them up,
yeah.
what are the other 3 books?
So the first three novels, or my first three novels, are all different eras in history, and covered like the idea for these books was to cover history of the Gulf Coast, kind of from the Louisiana Purchase forward. And
Yeah.
originally, I was going to like culminate with the BP spill, and then things things extended. But anyway, so the first novel is The Blood of Heaven, and that's set both around the Purchase, but the first revolutions in the Louisiana portions of West Florida, what are now called the Florida parishes.
Yeah.
Not the successful one in 1809, because I'm not that into successful telling stories about
Yeah.
people who like achieve
You're
their
very
goals.
into lost causes.
Yeah, I want
Yeah.
people who are struggling and dreamers where the dream kind of breaks. But anyway, it's the narrated by a guy who's adjacent to all these historical incidents that are happening. A youthful preacher who becomes ultimately a slaver, and I
Yeah.
really wanted to um, just kind of dig into the uglier aspects of the history, like as much as I want to like revel and celebrate and love my place. um i'm I'm always
Yeah,
drawn
but
to
it's
the nastier
yeah.
stuff, and but then like a big sense whenever I'm doing a historical thing, like a pretty huge sense of responsibility to do some justice to that. And so these first three novels follow a family and like a lineage, so these people called the Woolsacks. And so the first novel is Angel, this gentleman who's a preacher /slaver. The second novel is called Secessia, which is a a really sibilant title that I don't think it was hard for people to pronounce back on tour back in the day. But anyway, that's set during the Civil War, specifically in
Yeah.
the first year of the occupation of New Orleans. That's a multiple character perspectives, everything from the the American general who oversaw the occupation to some pretty insidious characters and a couple of kids. But anyway, that's my gothic novel, I would say. Like the first one's kind of a Jeremiah ad, and it's supposed to be a early 19th century style picaresque. And each
Mhm.
book in the sequence is kind of supposed to take the form of what a novel took in that time period.
Yeah.
So the second one's a gothic, and or to get even nerdier, it's a mysteries novel, the kind of mid 19th century book like Mysteries of Paris, Mysteries of I'm gonna forget now. There's also P.S. just for anybody interested. There's a 19th century novel called The Mysteries of New Orleans, which was written by a German immigrant and published only in German, but it was translated later and into English, and it is so berserk. It's one of my favorite books. It's unreal. Look it up; you will be astonished. Anyway, so then the third novel is called The New Inheritors, and it's a modernist novel. So it's set in the
Mhm.
teens and 20s. So it's got the like point of view and style of that I'm kind of trying to draw from the writers of that period, and it follows both another descendant of the Woolsacks as she falls in love with a painter. And this is like my gentlest book. It's the one that I wrote when my kid was a baby.
Oh, that made you a sap.
It made me total sap. I was at my peak of being in love with the world, like, and,
Oh
you
boy,
know,
did that go to
and then it just then like 20, then that was it. Like it was over at that point. Um, though the kid remains a good, healthy influence in terms of hope and stuff. But anyway, so that one follows this couple, one of whom is based on the Gulf Coast artist Walter Anderson. Um, and yeah, so those are hardcover historical fiction, and the great state of West Florida is a paperback, and
Yeah.
it's built to be a paperback. And my only regret is that we couldn't do a mass market. Like it would have been a different
It
production.
is pulpy. It's
Yeah,
okay. It's the story is pulp, the language is poetic, right?
yeah,
It is a poetic exploration of the redneck Riviera.
exactly so.
Beyond that is a poetic exploration of the people who lives there's pride in the redneck Riviera.
Absolutely. Like
Uh,
I I've sorry. um when I've gotten dinged and when I've gotten dinged and actually been like relatively like bothered by it with great state of West Florida has been someone saying like, oh, you're doing the like Florida man bit, like you're leaning into the
no,
exaggeration,
that's not it.
like, and I can sit here and and defend it all day long in that sense. But I think it's a different thing when somebody loves it. And like the things I'm
Yes.
writing about are things other than the most heinous and obscene, which I'm obsessed with and I want to look at because I'm
Yeah.
a weirdo. But the things that I'm writing about, like I'm not disgusted by the strip mall. Like that's something I have a love for and grew up in and
Hmm.
experience. And like when I'm writing about it, I'm trying to write about it as like breathlessly and affectionately as possible. But that was a big thing with the book of like it's it went from being a big old grim dark novel to being a really or much slimmer book that's I wanted to put everything in that made me happy, like to where like
Yeah, it's a love letter
yeah,
in a
exactly,
lot of
like
ways. Yeah.
every day I could go to the page and be like I'm doing something that I truly want to do,
Yeah.
um and that I want to look at or talk about or remember,
Yeah,
right?
it's a kid looking outside the car on the highway,
It
seeing
really is.
all these things and going, "Wow, that's weird." But wouldn't that be great? You know, right? It's literally like seeing like a closed down like amusement park on the side of the highway and being like, man, I bet that was the coolest fucking place. You
Oh,
know what I mean?
yep,
That's what
absolutely.
it's like. Yeah.
No,
No, yeah. And I also have a Florida manuscript that I wrote, a detective novel based in Florida, which is just a love letter to Florida. I just wrote a love letter to Florida because I understood how that, as you described, those strip malls are so much more meaningful from a like a human perspective than Mar-a-Lago is.
right. Which the
Like Flagler's interesting in a historical context, but like the strip mall people and the guy that owns the bait shop is the real mystique.
right.
You
And
know,
like when you're growing up in it, the also the there's all you the human being puts the significance into the place, and like
mhm.
if you have your first kiss behind the in the loading bay between the barn behind the Barnes and Noble and the Sports Authority, like that because suddenly becomes really important,
Yeah,
right?
that means something.
It's
Yes.
beautiful at that stage, and like,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I'm and really that like that makes me feel so good the kid's eye view thing because like that was it, and for me, like I was that kid,
Yeah.
driving back and forth like every weekend, whether it was when I was really little, when I was like 5 or 6 or whatever, from 5 to 7. When so part of much like the family in the novel, my dad was a Louisiana politician who was incarcerated in Pensacola for a period of time in the 90s. And we, at the beginning, as Louisiana politicians are wont to do, but you know,
Well, I'm sorry about that. That's obviously,
I mean, it's it's that is what builds writers, right? Like
yes,
that kind of stuff,
yes.
and and look, they it's plenty of folks with who've incarcerated relatives have it much worse than the experience of visiting minimum security and
Yeah.
stuff. But anyway, so like we would drive back and forth to visit him at first, and then eventually move there like after a
Yeah.
couple years, and then it was driving back to Louisiana every weekend. So it just
Yeah.
like flipped, and so I was always doing it. And my family, like my mom's family's from coastal Mississippi, and so we're just like making just up and down, back and forth on I-10 and Highway 98 and stuff like that, like constantly. So that really is like my point of view was
Yeah, yeah.
to
It
be like,
it
oh my
it
God, that's a what is this
it
thing?
it comes through so transparently that to me it was like, oh, yeah, this is like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz.
For sure.
But
That's like a lodestar for me
but
too.
but going back and forth
Yeah.
in the redneck Riviera.
Yeah.
And I was like, I really like that. It reminds me, you've probably been up, if you've been to a Gunquit, you've driven north of Boston through Saugus on Route 1
Yes.
or 128, where you see the Chinese Kowloon,
Yeah.
yeah, pagoda, and the Christmas tree store that has the ship coming out of the back of it, or the place, the Hilltop Steakhouse, they used to have the cows out in front. And like, I think we all as kids have those places that you drive through and they're just mysterious. You're just
Yeah.
like, why in God's name would anyone like who stops there?
Those things of like you're driving as a little kid, like going to Pensacola Beach for the first time and seeing what's called a Futuro house. There's the UFO, it's like shaped like a
Oh yeah, yeah.
and being like, what the fuck? Like, what is this? Um, what's going on? But that's been honestly like some of the most like meaningful responses to the book have been people who've seen their stuff in it. Like someone
Yeah, yeah.
pulls me aside and is like, oh my God, like you're talking about Tiffany Lanes. There's like a bowling alley in Mandeville, Louisiana that's not even there anymore. I'm like, yeah, they're psyched just to see the thing. So it feels good. Like it feels
Yeah, I mean, I was just in my hometown last week and I'm driving around and I was much more interested in telling my wife and daughter about the stuff that used to be there
yeah.
versus the boring shit that's there now. You know what I mean?
I've
Like
I'd give
that,
those tours to my to my
you know what I mean? It's just like that gas station used to be a giant blue building called Bry's Variety, and the only floor that was ever open was like the bottom floor, but it was 3 stories high. I don't even know what they did with the rest of the place. And then they tore it down. Now it's just a mobile station. And it's just like, ah, that's so depressing to me. That's
yeah.
such a weird, like interesting, and you have these experiences, and that's what I think the book is about. It's about that sort of like a love letter to that experience, which is to me really fun and why I've been so excited to talk to you about it.
Man.
From a dadlet perspective, it's
Hmm.
it's prime dadlet.
I, I I think at this point, like almost anything I do, might be there. But especially trying to draw from, like one of the big things for the book was kind of having originally written, envisioned, and then written a, grimly serious, trying hard to be predictive version of a near future that just didn't work. It didn't work for me, and I think my editors were real relieved when I like backed out and was like, I don't know. But that, realizing, or the thing that I came to was like seeing that my present felt way more like the past's version of the future. It felt way
Yeah,
more
yeah,
like the 1980s and early mid 90s version of what 2025 would be,
yeah.
which is way bigger, more ridiculous, and bizarre, and not sleek. As sleek as everyone's trying to make things, it's like, nah, we're cyborg too.
Oh,
We're
no,
we're not.
no. I love I this
And
is I mean, Alex Perez brought this up, and Alex and I disagree or agree on many things. Not personally, I've never spoken to the man, but it, the the idea that like novels now have to be so sharp and
yeah,
so dense is all very dull to me.
yeah,
Like there should be, if the goal is to take advantage of the novel as the form, there should be room to make sort of bizarre, hilarious, outlandish like things. Like the best example is the blonde speech from Raymond Chandler with Philip Marlowe novels, where he'll just bust into a 3 page long commentary on blondes in
right.
LA and who all the blondes are and what makes a blonde. And it's just like the action in those books is not that thrilling for
Yeah,
the
there's not much
contemporary
going.
mind. Yeah, right. It's just like
He's going to
it's
houses.
yeah, he's going to houses and talking to people who are just kind of weird, and it's that typical like he has to go through a series of hoops to get to the climax, and then denouement. But the thing that makes it fun is these moments where um he goes on these little interior like analytical tirades about the state of culture and the state of society.
Yeah.
Like that's the fun part. The fun part is that this is where I think everyone's botched their anti-heroes these days
Uh,
because they want the anti-hero to be edgy and fun. But the point is, you can't do that unless you're willing to like fully commit.
yeah.
You know what I mean? For your anti-hero to have like an entire worldview that is so ingrained that everything they look at has something about it that they can observe. And to that extent, it's like that stuff is just missing. It's just missing. Like they can keep it as tight as they want, and they want to keep it tight, 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 from like story and action because I've just been through this with my age.
You're hearing all that stuff for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, with from my agent, which is like, okay, you got to cut this down. You got to get to it fast. Inciting incident. The inciting incident isn't coming fast enough. And then it's like, oh, these are beautiful descriptions, but action, 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 propulsion, propulsion, propulsion. And it's like, yeah, but isn't it, where's the fun of just plot? You know what I mean?
No, it's like
Like,
what I can't imagine. When I'm thinking about this and thinking about like a speaking of the Northeast, like George Higgins, right? And
yeah,
like, you're sitting there in a room just listening to people talk, and it's thrilling. And like the
yeah.
scene where someone shoots somebody is not particularly thrilling if he even shows it at all. And
Oh,
like,
it doesn't, it's meaningless.
right, and like
Yes.
you retrain. I don't know. Like, there's a lot of. I think there's a hunger for it out there with readers, and from the marketing and like if not publishing end of like they're always just trying to like hang on tight of like, oh God, what can
Oh
we
yeah. No, they want to put it into like they want to put it into like a quick and fast category. And it's like the best you can do is say something like um Dirty Harry in 2010 Florida. You
right.
know what I mean? And then they're like, oh, well, I didn't like Dirty Harry, or the Dirty Harry's not selling right now, or that sort of stuff. And they just don't get that like the underlying fun part of Dirty Harry is that there's a weird um counter-cultural kind of reactionary observation that some people are gonna watch and be like, "Oh, Dirty Harry, he's edgy," and some people are gonna watch. They're gonna be
Be
like,
like,
"Dirty Harry is awesome.
right.
Dirty Harry in Florida rules."
Cool. Oh my God. Hell yeah. I'm a dirty area in Florida. But yeah, like speaking of that, like or to your point, I think there's too much hero and not enough anti going on.
Yeah, but the
Uh,
hero isn't any good. The heroes are boring.
like it's anti-heroes who have ultimately like completely reasonable worldviews and behave morally normally, and it's like, well, he's just kind of a jerk. Like he's a certain
Yeah, he's a jerk, but he has all the right political
like,
opinions.
he's not this mutant who I'm shocked that I'm kind of going like go for it, man.
Yeah.
um, Yeah, but the anti-hero, like I don't know, I feel like for me, like I enjoy it the most when it's like you're questioning yourself the whole time of like, this is
Yeah.
right. This isn't right. I'm not supposed to like this. And then it becomes thrilling, like
Yeah.
really fun. Um, but
Well, this is the other thing, and I'm very big on this, and it's interesting to me um because I've now written a couple of things with action sequences.
mm,
I save violence. I don't use violence a lot. I always slow down violence.
hmm
Violence should be painful.
yeah,
Violence comes with consequences, even if you think that it would go fast. I want the character to dwell on it and the
yeah,
repercussions of it and the feelings of it. And I think that like one of the things that just like really makes good violence in literature is if you slow down the violence.
yeah.
If it goes too fast, it's like, oh well, that had there you go. There was that meaning. Bye.
No,
You know what I mean?
for sure. And
Yeah.
like that was one of the a lot of the things of like from mentors and teachers and stuff that sticks in your head. One from one of my teachers at Florida State was like telling me or telling us more broadly, but I think it was the whole class. I don't remember if he was mad at us all or just me, but it was like for the things that happen quick physically, should be the slowest thing on the page.
Oh yeah,
That are
absolutely.
physically slow should be the fastest thing on the page.
Yeah.
And but the more, to the, I'm on the, I obviously like on every level, every book, like dwelling on violence for, sometimes, or, it's thematic reasons and things, but also
Well,
like,
what do
I
you
just
think?
like the
What do you
pain.
think what do you think that's about? Because I dwell on violence too.
Yeah.
Um, and my approach to violence is I'm not actually a violent person. I'm
Yeah.
actually I'm actually genuinely very anti-violent. I'm the least likely person to become violent with someone. However, I'm obsessed with violence having its place.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like
Like
you were talking
I'm
about, like that it radiates out as
that
conflict.
yeah, that what is the limit of empathy?
Oh
I
wow.
love that. I love that as like a concept because I think, you know, we're all suburban kind of like dudes, and I guess we all have like kind of a vision of it, but really, what is the limit of empathy, and when does it cross the line, and what does that look like for a person? And that is what interests me about violence. I think more than anything. Um, I'm also interested. What you were saying something. What is your
Yeah.
interest?
Mine, I think, like, I share that to an extent, but I think my answer is going to sound way more shallow, and I think that's okay. That's who I am. But I'm like aesthetically very drawn to it. Like, if
Oh,
I don't, I'm like, much like you, extremely not violent person, to the
yeah,
extent that, like, there's a thing the other day. Um, I got, my wife and I were going to go to an event, and I got skeezed out about it because of potential violent thing. I'm not even going to refer to it, but anyway,
yeah.
my wife tells her friend who we were supposed to go to, like, Kent's kind of like not interested in, and she had like read the book or heard about the book, and she's like, him? Like, and my wife had to explain, like, he's not, like, he likes to make it up and look at it, and but
Yeah.
in reality he does not interested in seeing it or experiencing
Yes.
it. And like, no, but I like really, the writers who I love, the filmmakers who I love, like, more than anyone. Like, obviously, like,
Yeah.
I love a Ozu movie. Like, I love a quiet, gentle film that does not contain violence. I love quiet, gentle novels that don't, or, and not that they even have to be gentle, but to not contain physical violence. But anyhow,
Yeah.
no, I really like drawing with red, and like, I really like how it looks in that sense. And like, I think it does interesting things. Like, like, at heart, I'm a stylist. Um,
That's definitely clear.
like, I'm thinking
Yes.
about the sentence and how it
Yes.
sounds and what I can do. And so for me, like, what I understand, like, when I kind of, the first time I understood like how I felt about it as a, like, not, I was writing from an early age, but anyhow, the I don't remember, actually I do remember who was reading. It was the writer Harlan Ellison, who's probably like one of the huge reasons why I'm a writer at all. Like, he was the first example of one, and then I
Hmm.
got obsessed with him. And anyway, read everything he wrote, including his columns and reviews, and he was describing um, a Peck and Paw movie, and talked about balletic violence. And they're like, it's
Hmm.
like a ballet. This is orchestrated stylistically, it's visceral, it's intense. It's not trying to, like, it's not stylizing the violence into being clean. It's ugly, but it's also beautiful. We're thinking about how the blood looks when it shoots out of the squib, or whatever,
Hmm.
however that works. And yeah, so for me, like, if I'm, writing about enslavement in the 19th century, no, I'm not aestheticizing violence in
Yeah.
those necessarily, but stylistically probably still. But anyway, with West Florida, it's like, it was my opportunity to completely unleash everything I possibly could, and to like
Hmm.
get the images and to be able to describe the things that I'm visualizing and seeing on the page. And yeah, so I think for me it's an aesthetic thing. Um, and I'm not it's a weird thing to not be like a huge fan of some kinds of violent media or
Well, yeah,
storytelling, but
I
not
mean,
others. Right.
it's sort of the difference between like watching a slasher flick versus listening to and appreciating Mac the Knife with you.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
That's how I would describe it. Yes.
Yeah.
Having read The Great State of West Florida, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh
Exactly.
yes.
Yeah, and the like my sweet spot is uh, uh, like the kind of it's like an Italian slasher flick, right? Where like this is
Yeah.
shot beautifully, and it's there might not be a great deal of emotional realism, but it is stunningly gorgeous and it's making you uncomfortable. And I like to be put in that position. I love to experience emotional realism on a variety of levels, especially as a writer. Like that feeling when you hit it on the page, and you're
Mm.
feeling the thing as deeply with the character. And then you can kind of you can bet that the reader, or at least one reader, might feel it that way. Um, but that's tough. Like that's a almost physically hard thing to experience. So yeah, I feel, to whatever extent feel, some a little responsibility in terms of not being cavalier about it, but
Mhm.
but I wanted to be able to have um, as many of the violent set pieces that I've been envisioning as possible in a book. And I'm, hopefully I get to top myself with the follow up.
Yeah, what's coming up?
So I'm I'm a bad one about like toggling between projects and then like
Oh
getting
yeah.
distracted and kind of looking over and be like, ooh. So for a minute after I went and did the events and stuff for West Florida, I did a ton of work on the what would be the next book in that sequence or potential sequence. So bringing the conflict that to the dad literati out there, it's not entirely resolved at the end of the novel.
That's
uh,
true.
we're bringing two sides and forces into conflict and moving from there. But one of the the hearts of the book is this thing called duel, where um basically it's a like contemporary version of gunfighting, except it's like gunfighting
Yeah,
on
it's
a
Jake Plissken.
exactly like it's dating app gunfighting. Like you swipe right, and then you swipe right, like you can go shoot each other. And how so the next novel, and so the narrator Rally's uncle is a professional gunfighter in West Florida, and I've for the follow up doing a full scale tournament. Uh,
Oh, great.
to decide once and for all who's uh
The gonna
who's
be
going to
the
be in control
governor.
of West Florida.
Nice.
So that's been fun to do. But then I like laid out my brackets and made all my notes and did all my things, and then a neat idea walked by, and I kind of turned and went, "Oh, who are you?" And so that then over the summer worked real hard on a novel, which I get, yeah, it's a historical novel set in the 1950s about Frank Morris, the guy who orchestrated the escape from Alcatraz.
Mhm.
He burgled banks with one of my dad's cousin in the 50s, and they both escaped from Angola, the prison in Louisiana, together,
Nice.
and went on a spree in 1955, and then both escaped from their respective institutions in 1962. Um, Frank, they never found. My relative, they kept catching, and he kept getting out until he was an old man. But anyway, I had heard about that story my whole life, but then I got more information, found out a few things, did a couple of FOIA requests, and a book really took shape. So worked on that a while, but now I'm back. Now I'm back in West Florida, so hopefully bringing that one to a close soon. And yeah, so it's that's where I'm at. But hopefully another like neat idea does not walk by soon. So I get distracted real easily. But yeah, that's the next step. So hopefully, or like the idea would be, it's Great State of Westward at a bigger scale, like
Nice.
larger cast of characters, more than one point of view.
Sort of a Quick and the Dead style
Very much so.
settlement.
The novelization
Yes.
of which has stayed on the desk throughout this entire like period of.
Is there a novel of the
There
Quick and the
is
Dead?
only it. They only published it in England. Yeah,
Oh,
so I had to order it, and it's got some cool stuff. It's well written.
yes.
I'm a big movie novelization fan, especially when I can find like stuff that's not in the movie. Like that's really great.
Oh yeah, like the original novelization to Star Wars: A Phantom
Exactly.
Menace is like a million times better than the movie.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say for because the first time I remember like having the reaction. I'm gonna check this out though. I want to see it. Was it?
Yeah,
But the first Star Wars, which they just attributed to George Lucas, but it's Alan Dean Foster who, I
yeah.
believe. Um, like I
Oh
remember,
man, there's a great like thing with like early in the book with Anakin out in the desert with like a Tusken Raider that he's like pulled out of some sort of horrible scenario and
oh,
he's terrified to sleep next to him.
that's great.
Oh, it's awesome. It's
Oh my
so
God, no,
good.
I'm doing it.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's wonderful. But like, yeah, for the first one, it was like the conversation with Biggs at Tashi Station and stuff, and
yeah,
all these things, and a couple of other characters. And as a little kid, I'm like, what is this? And like, so
yeah. Oh,
from then
yeah.
on, like, any time I could find a novelization, I would get it. The other day, I found got the one of the Deer Hunter, which is
Really?
bananas.
Yes.
It's super quick, like it's not long at all, but there's one or two things, so it's real disorienting, but it is about the shape of the movie. Like the
Yeah.
first 70 to 80 pages are the wedding, and the last 70 to 80 pages are the Vietnam stuff, and then and going back home. But there were a few things that weren't there, that really tickled me. Speaking of competitive murder, if folks are familiar with
Yeah,
the Russian roulette plot.
I've been trying to get David Morrill
Oh wow,
on
yeah.
the podcast because of course he wrote the original Rambo,
Yep.
but he wrote the film novelizations for Rambo 2 and Rambo 3 after getting the scripts, and I've always wanted to talk to him about that,
Oh yeah.
mostly because Rambo as a character changes completely
Yeah.
between the first book and the second book. And I wrote about it in my master's thesis.
No way.
Yes, I did
That's so cool.
because I was talking about Vietnam memory, so Vietnam soldier memory and sort of discomfort with Vietnam and how Rambo, the film, sort of fed into kind of the vision of the Vietnam veteran of as a victim of an American domestic system that failed him.
Yeah.
Like it failed Rambo. Like we
Right.
blew it for Rambo.
Yeah.
And versus earlier in the 70s when society treated Vietnam veterans like garbage and the ubiquitous, you know, sort of portrayal of them was incredibly negative and incredibly judgmental and incredibly harsh. Whereas Rambo coming back and facing that sort of judgment from arguably sort of a fascist style
Oh yeah.
sheriff
We're hearing.
uh, turns him into a working class hero. And how interesting that is as a concept when you go into the 80s when he becomes a super soldier.
Yeah,
right? It's a very different guy.
totally
It's
different.
working class hero Rambo versus super soldier Rambo.
Stoppable, and also just totally cool to just like, all right, what do we got to do?
Yeah, yeah, he's
Knock his
going
way
back
through.
in. He's going back in. For
No, I think it's like it's a weird thing that
Go
happens.
Mujahideen.
Right, Marv, that dedication. Oh my God, it's the funniest thing ever. The
That's a dark,
like,
dark
yeah, this film is dedicated to. Oh, like, woo.
to the noble fighters of the Mujahideen. Uh,
Yeah, I feel like so much, or like a good chunk of it, is like Sylvester Stallone is so sympathetic, like as a
oh
person
yeah, he's a great actor. I
that you
mean,
just
he's
like will
spectacular.
do it versus, and so that even in the the difference between that first movie and something like Rolling Thunder, where
Yeah,
it's a it was equally like psychologically interesting and acute, but it is so dark and he's
yeah,
so fucked up,
yeah.
and gets becomes so fucked up that it's like you can't. There's you have to do a lot of a viewer has to do a lot more work to empathize.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, even in like the later films, like the one with Christian Bale, where he's a POW
oh
and
yeah,
he escapes.
Warner Herzog.
Um, yeah, that one doesn't come close to sort of like the vision of empathy that you have for Rambo
Yeah.
at the end of what is effectively a killing spree where he blows up an entire
Yeah,
town.
blows up an entire town, and then it's like that monologue and that breakdown there at the end. It's like this is
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's
perfect.
crazy. And none of that is in the book. But it's all in the movie. Yeah.
It's been forever.
Oh, you got to rewatch it. It's
My favorite
so
David Morrell novel is The Totem. Is an
I haven't read that one.
That's a banger. Like
Is
it's
it
a
good?
horror novel with a kind of Wendigo sort of creature,
Yeah.
small town Montana. It's a blast. Like it's
David Burrell is the sneaky best thriller author that no one seems to realize. He's just known as the guy that did, Rambo
yeah,
and like he's got like some he's just got cool shit out there and
tons
he's
of
still writing.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see him on. He'll pop up on Twitter. I'm like, hell yeah.
Yes.
The yeah, for horror heads, like old school horror heads, or they know him just as a horror writer. He's
Yeah.
got so many horror stories. Yeah, I love his stuff. That's funny. That's a good tangent.
Well, Kent, I suppose we should sign off.
Is it that time?
It is. It's actually 15 minutes past that time.
Dang. Well, we
I
gotta do
know. Well, I'm
that.
only signing off because I know you have a family to go home to.
Well, back at you, man. I appreciate
And I have a wife upstairs who's definitely annoyed with me because tomorrow's her birthday.
Oh my God. Oh no, then you yes, sign off. This is
So,
my on a teaching night. That this is one of the times where my wife's like, all right, she's cool to fly solo, with the young.
well, anyway, plug the great state of West Florida in your projects to the dad literati so that they go out and buy them for Christmas for themselves because
Absolutely, fellas.
dads buy
Yeah,
Christmas
well,
presents
that's
for
the
them.
thing. I sure hope these dads do. Like, come on out there. If you want a neon glowing Florida set Western with heavily anime influence, a sci-fi tinge, with a grit lit voice, then pick up the great state of West Florida. And if you want an absolute historical bloodbath, like pick up the Blood of Heaven. And move yourself through this series. Though the neat thing about it is all read out of sequence. They're not intended to be read in an order. You just pick up what you want and see some either wild historical stuff or some demented version of the present that's still built on trying to show you a really really good time.
Kent Wascom, professor, dad lit author, and citizen of the great state of West Florida. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Dan. Catch you later.
Gotcha.
Our time together has come to an end. It's time to return to your wife, kids, and friends. It's time to pick up those books you forgot while you wait for the next Dad Lit Pod.